Bangladeshi, non-native English speaker who was born and raised in Kuwait and educated in American Institute. Simply hearing all of these adjectives about me may give you an idea of who I am. However, seeing as I'm not exactly sure who I am, I'm not sure if they would be any helpful to you. However, at some point or another over the last 5 or 6 years, I've been judged negatively, I may add, by each one of these identities. I've been assumed to be unintelligent at a dinner party because of my conservative dress. I have been asked if I was coming to England as a maid because of my Bangladeshi passport, and this was at the British Embassy. I've been denied a job because I'm technically not a native English speaker, and been assumed that I'm wealthy and spoilt because I live in Kuwait and it is a very rich country. And at the same time, being told by the Bangladeshi community that I'm very different from them because I have more American friends than I do Bangladeshis. So, all this time I thought I was normal, but apparently I have a lot more to me than what meets the eye. To complicate matters, I've now added something to my identity by being a PhD student here at Canterbury, and I'm investigating what it means, identity, what is cultural identity, and how does globalization come into play in terms of forming this cultural identity, and then taking it even further and looking at it as what role does it play in the English language classroom? What does it mean to teach English, and does it have any implications? Now, the English language has a significant role in the world today. Globalization is making exposure to English even more widespread than before. As a result, the implications for teaching English, especially if one keeps in mind its historical past and about colonialism and the spread of capitalism, then the significance of teaching and learning English is being questioned and analyzed. So, I don't have many slides, but recently I've been reading the work of Alistair Pennycook, and Pennycook's primary concern is that the spread of English will cause the destruction and disappearance of local cultures. On the other hand, I've also been reading Anthony Giddens, and he says that globalization may be the reason for the revival of local cultural identities in different parts of the world. So you have these two opposite points of view. One is that globalization is imposing different cultures, different expectations, different histories on the people, especially through teaching English, because learning English carries meaning. However, there's Anthony Giddens who's saying that it doesn't matter. Maybe their globalization is taking place, but because of these external influences, people are retaining their traditional or their own identity, and in fact, it's being reinforced. My research is taking place in Kuwait, at Kuwait University. I'm looking at, my students are first and second year medical students, and as part of their requirements, they have to learn English. Mainly because a lot of the instructors that come in are foreigners, plus all the most recent research is being published in English. So there's an instrumental value to learning English for them. I asked some of my students, as part of my data collection, what their opinion was about globalization and what it means to learn English. When talking to my student Fatma about her opinion on the effects of globalization, she looked at me straight in the eye and said, "You mean like divorce, promiscuity, and obesity?" She was very taken aback. She thought that even though you can't say that the Kuwaiti culture does not have these elements. However, it seems that the focus of these concepts has increased, especially she's a bit of a health nut, so she does not like the fact that there are so many fast food restaurants, Burger King and McDonald's coming in. She said that we were more active before, and now obesity is on the increase. So she was not happy about that. However, she went on to say that unfortunately at the moment it's going to take time to get out from underneath globalization's thumb because it's made us lazy. Now this is taking Kuwait's sociopolitical background into into the area that we need to examine, Kuwait is a country of 3 million people. Out of that, 2.1 million people are foreigners who have come there to work. So there is an obvious influence from the outside coming in, given that the majority of the population is not Kuwaiti. So if this is in fact a consequence of globalization, that people from other countries and cultures and religious backgrounds are coming into Kuwait to work, then this is an element of globalization. And Kuwait is now depending on this foreign labor to come in, and therefore she's saying that it's made us lazy, we're relying on others. So this is a consequence of living in this globalized world and what Kuwait has become. Okay. While she does see some negative effects of globalization, in terms of learning English, she does think that it's important. Okay. Anyway, she said, because it helps us communicate with each other, and especially when we travel, it helps us get around, and if we get lost and need to ask a question, there's always someone who can help us, because people understand English. So she understands that, okay, English is just a reality of living in a globalized world. Though there are negative effects that she sees in Kuwait, there are also some positive outcomes, as well as some things that are essential for us to survive now in this globalized world. I've spoken to other students, and they seem to think that despite some of the negative effects, in general, the Kuwaiti family and traditional values seem to be relatively unaffected. One of my students said that she did not see globalization as a factor that is destroying Kuwaiti society. She emphasized the importance of family values. Oh, this was before. Sorry. Okay. And she emphasized the importance of family values, which she thought could outlast any Western influence in the society. She also thought that the recent development of private universities, such as the American University of Kuwait, the Australian University of Kuwait, was beneficial because they're offering opportunities for higher education. And she very nicely said, if we don't learn English, then how can we tell others about our beautiful culture and tradition? Because it's just been given that this is the mode of communication. Another one of my students said this quote, "The West is coming in, but they will never change us. They are struggling to understand how we think and why we do what we do, but we don't even care to think about them. They're always trying to find problems with our culture and our society because we're different, but actually they're different, not us. We stick together. All of Kuwait is one big family. If they come to try and change us, we stick together stronger than before." So you can see a very strong, possibly nationalistic pride here, and the strength that he's drawing from his entire community, and also reversing this point of view that we're not the other. Everyone else is the other. We're Kuwaiti. We live in our country. This is who we are. So anyone else who comes in is an outside influence. So I thought this distinction was very interesting because if you read about center and periphery and all of these other concepts, I never thought that I was on the periphery until I went to the TESOL International Convention and I was told that I was different. And this type of differentiation is very significant, and it's actually what prompted me to start to investigate these ideas. Because for the people, especially for this one student of mine, he just thinks that he's going on his everyday life. He doesn't need to defend himself. If other people are questioning his identity, they can question as much as they want, but he's sure of who he is. So, looking at all of these factors, I'm going back to the question of globalization and cultural identity. There are so many factors that are coming into play, and with just these students alone, and my own example, it is very difficult to solidify what is cultural identity and what is identity. Stuart Hall said that identity is constantly changing. It depends on our interactions with new ideas, new beliefs, new people, and the exposure we have to different environments. So